Welcome to the Ordinary Marathoner podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Ordinary Marathoner podcast. My name is Coach Scott. I'll be your host today. I'm going to have two in-studio guests for you today. Going to bring them on in just a moment. As always, you can find this in the back episodes of our podcast at our website, ordinarymarathoner.com. You can also find them at the aggregators, places like Stitcher and TuneIn and iTunes, of course. If you like the show, hit that subscribe button. Also, check out the YouTube channel, Ordinary Marathoner. Putting up a lot of, pretty much all of the recent podcasts go up there as well. Sometimes in studio, if we can. When I do my daily podcasts, which are now semi-weekly, right, Ronald? Semi-weekly podcasts. Those go up on the YouTube channel as well. So go over there, hit that subscribe button over there. We're like 4 or 5 subscribers away from 100, which is a big milestone for us. We'd love to have you. I'm not going to waste too much time. Actually, I'm going to waste a little more time. Find us over at Twitter at OrdMarathoner, O-R-D Marathoner. Follow me there. I'll follow you back. And definitely check out our discussion group on Facebook. It's called Ordinary Marathoners. It's a closed group, so you got to add yourself to it. But once you add yourself, we'll put you right through. You can join the conversation. You could be a lurker, do whatever you like. But a lot of activity over there the last couple of weeks, picking up some steam. A lot of people have events. Today is Ironman Mont Tremblant. We're just tracking a whole bunch of people, wishing them the best of luck today. And so far, all the people we're tracking are doing pretty well. And it's been a fun day already tracking, and I can't wait. We're gonna be tracking them all day. Anyway, that being said, let me introduce our two guests. Obviously, got two studio guests today. I can't wait to introduce you guys and get going. And we got to talk. We got a lot to talk about. I feel like so these guys came in and I started talking to Dean Lindell, who's Grace's dad, and we've just been chatting away. So it's time to turn on the mic and get some of this stuff on tape. We got some good stuff. So my guest today, as I said, Dean Lindell, his daughter Grace is 19 years old. At least I think you're still 19.
Yes.
All right. No birthdays come to pass. Finished third place in your age group in Ironman Lake Placid.
Yep.
That's incredible.
Yeah. I didn't expect it.
Your first Ironman?
Yes.
This is where I want to start. I feel like I've been talking to your dad for like the last 10 minutes, and now I gotta kind of bring it over here. How does a 19-year-old decide that you want to do an Ironman? How does this happen? Like, I feel like when I was 19, I couldn't, I was in shape. I was an athlete. I possibly could have ran 5 miles. Never in my wildest dream would I ever come up with Ironman as something I want to do at the age of 19. So how did this happen for you?
Well, my dad started doing Ironman 2012.
Yep.
So I was 12, and I was old enough to remember everything, and it was just such a cool experience, and Ironman kind of clicked with us, I think.
So it's like a family thing.
Yeah. So he's done it 3 times at Lake Placid.
Yeah.
He's done it 2012, 15, and 17. So all pretty big years, all pretty close together. So it was kind of like a routine thing. And then we got family friends that did Ironman. So we just have a huge clan.
Yeah, it's
of people who've done Ironman and do Lake Placid, a couple of Mont Tremblants.
So you've been watching it grow up as you grew up, and
it's such a magical experience that it hit with my 12-year-old brain,
right?
And was
right.
This is a cool thing. And
so, did you ever do the kids race when you were young?
I did.
I forgot to turn this camera on. I'm gonna turn it on.
That's right. You mentioned your little one did it.
Yeah.
So my daughter Sam did it this year. And if you've done it, was that ever? So did you guys go every year? Was it like a family vacation?
It kind of turned into it.
It has now.
Because we've gone up, but the years that he doesn't race, he's the captain of the first bike aid station, and it's
Right.
only the first bike aid station.
Right, which we've met before. We didn't know that until
Yes,
until
I love that station.
Yeah. So.
But no, we just started in 2011. I volunteered so that I could sign up in 2012 because we just
You had the priority.
just said, you know what, let me try to do this.
Right, now back then it was more difficult to get into the race. You had to volunteer if you wanted to get in, pretty much.
Yeah, because it would sell out.
Right. So now they kind of just it doesn't really they just have way too many events. I think.
Yeah, I think that's the marketing aspect of it. They're saturating the market. So, but we would go up there. We did it because I don't know, I wanted to try to do it like you.
Yeah.
Let's just do this thing. It's a challenge. These guys did it's an impressive venue.
Yeah.
And it'll leave an impression on you.
Oh, sure.
And a positive impression. I think certainly
Oh,
did,
definitely.
as she refers to.
It's an incredible town. And I think, even you guys live in Connecticut. I live in East Longmeadow, Mass. And, we're not necessarily inside a city but we're being in suburbs to kind of get out and go to more of like a country. Yes. I always say like, you could pretty much drink the water out of the lake if you really wanted to.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it on race day, especially towards the finish. It feels so. It's just it's nice to kind of. It's like a respite, just a place to go and recharge the batteries and feel. And kind of just get a little bit more faith in the world.
Yeah.
I feel like going up there and spending time.
Said.
An escape. It's beautiful.
It gathers so many people there, and like everyone just forgets about everything and just focuses on like celebrating the athletes and doing this like a crazy race.
Yeah,
like,
it's
just
like
a day of peace,
and the whole town makes it about you. But let's take a step back because we're already getting away from what I want to talk about. All right, so you did the kids race. Lake Placid has been sort of a family thing for you guys. I'm assuming that kind of like, so you had this like little, you're doing this kids race and you're going to Lake Placid and you got this thing in the back of your mind for like a couple of years, like, hey, as you're growing up, I could do, how are you sort of developing as an athlete during this time?
I did cross country. I started doing cross country when I was in 7th grade because I was a soccer kid. And then I was like, you know what, I'm going to try to do running more. And then I continued through high school and our team was like an incredible team. And my senior year, our team qualified for New England's, which was the first time that the girls team qualified in the history of our high school. It's usually individual girls like that will be able to make it. But like the boys team would usually qualify for New England's as a team.
Right.
But my senior year, we qualified for the first time ever. And so like we were just a powerhouse and I was always a runner. So my team kind of carried me through that running sense and like got me into running. So
not having like a cross country background myself or knowing exactly like what kind of distances do you run when you're doing cross country? You're not approaching marathon distances. You're probably 3 to 5 miles, I would guess, around
5Ks
there.
5Ks are the races.
5Ks.
So sprints.
Yeah. So, but you're still kind of developing that, probably at least a mental vision of doing longer races.
Yeah.
Did you have to were you taking steps towards like 10Ks, half marathons, or were you trying to get to the marathon distance at all? When I feel like most cross country kids are probably like, all right, 5K, that's great. I'm doing that. I feel like a runner. I feel great. Was there something in your mind saying I got to push this longer? Because maybe eventually you're thinking race with dad one day.
She beats dad, but anyway.
Oh gosh, my junior year, I signed up for the Cheshire Half Marathon, the Iron Bank.
I've done that one.
Yeah. And I loved it.
I've had the director on the podcast.
Oh, that's
Bill
awesome.
Costello. Yeah.
But it's a flat course, and it's a beautiful course. And
except for the hill at mile 10.
Yeah.
That one kills me. But go ahead.
It's like flat, and then the back half, it's like up and down, and you're like, But I did that, and that was my first kind of like dip into more distance events.
Right.
And then I signed up because I play lacrosse during the spring season. So I'd do lacrosse and then right after practice, I'd go off for my run. And so I just kind of liked doing one intense thing and then going on to kind of like push myself even more and get like a distance run in.
Yeah, I tell you, playing sports in high school, I think the last thought on my mind after leaving practice would be, I want to go for a run. So it's a special kind of, crazy.
Yeah. I because I would run cross country and then I would do indoor track and then it felt weird not having a season where I was running.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to lose any of like the progress that I'd made for cross country and it kind of just kept me in shape for lacrosse and then going into spring training or summer training for cross country. And then I signed up again for the half marathon my senior year, and I had been training really, really hard, and I did it in an hour and 30 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was
that's close to top 5, right?
Yeah.
That's got to be up there.
I don't remember what I came in.
Second or third?
Second or third.
Yeah.
Like, I think, was it female overall?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
For
your group.
I think I came in first for my age group.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. but like top 5 for females.
Yeah.
Wow. So, all right. So we've mentioned, obviously, you're playing all these sports, doing a lot of running.
Yeah.
Swimming, biking.
Never.
That's an interesting twist.
Yeah.
Because that's it. And really, when you look at, you'll probably get to it, but your history in triathlon really is.
I did two sprint triathlons like 3 months before Ironman.
Yeah.
And that was my only race experience for triathlon.
Wow. Yeah, so I told you beforehand, like I was sort of similar.
Yeah.
I just jumped in.
Yeah.
I just,
Sometimes that's the way to do it.
Literally and figuratively into the swim, just jump in.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Had you ever, so you said you've done 2 triathlons before, like sprints, but at least you're in the open water, because a lot of people freak out in open water. I've seen, a lot of people just, all they do is swim in the pool, and they get to Lake Placid, or they get wherever they're going. Lake Placid's probably a little bit, probably the best. Best
feel like enclosed.
Yeah, and it's all, like you can see, a good 5 to 10 feet in front of you.
Yeah.
When we talked earlier, I did Maryland. You couldn't see your hand in front of your face.
Really?
Yeah, and even Mont Tremblant is a little bit. Have you done it? No. So you mentioned
we had family friends.
It's clear. It's pretty clear, but it's not as clear. At Mirror Lake, you get spoiled.
Yeah.
It is just it's a beautiful. And I said after Maryland, I'll never do another saltwater swim. Oh, I just get spoiled in the lakes. I like the lakes. They're much better. There's also jellyfish. And sharks.
Oh, that's right.
Just another thing to add onto the list.
All right, so obviously you're training on the bike though. Even though you may not be swimming or biking competitively all the time, but you must be out there. When did you?
Strictly a runner, and then training started, and I started we went out for a few runs or rides and swims before I went off to college, but that was it. And then I got up to college, and I was like, It
was October or September last year. That was really her first experience on a bicycle.
Yeah. So I had
for any kind of distance.
And I am not a big water person in general.
Yeah.
So the swim was kind of miserable for me. And I was like, I'm only going to go in the water when I have to go in the water to train. So I didn't really do anything prior.
You can't help out with this? You can't get in there.
With your daughter.
Yeah. No, I was like, I have to be training for something to get into the water. I was avoiding it at all costs.
All right.
So really, it's a line in the sand was drawn back in September, October when you started training for this.
Yeah. I just have to get myself into the pool. And I go to school out in Colorado, Western Colorado University.
Oh, but at least you probably get a lot. There's a lot of sort of that healthy.
Yeah.
I would say a healthy climate. It's just. It's like everybody's out, everybody's out and active. It seems like out there, and you get a good community, and it's sort of easier. Like I feel like sometimes when you're, I've lived in New York and Boston, and it's really hard. And when you're living in a city or places where you can't necessarily get out, it's not so bad here. But I have issues with riding my bike in the street. I hate it.
It would be tough here.
Yeah.
So many little side streets and stop signs. Yeah.
And for the most part, the side streets aren't so bad because there's not so many cars.
True.
But the main streets there's not much of a shoulder.
Yeah.
And, I just picture everyone these days texting. And, I have a light pole in front of my house that's been hit 3 times because it's on a very subtle curve.
Oh, my God.
And I know for a fact that two of the 3 people that hit it were on the cell phones. And it's usually late at night, and it's a very subtle curve. And I don't know if there's, a little of that going on. But,
but
if you're on a bike,
it's
in the
scary,
battle of bike versus car,
the
bike doesn't win.
No.
Never wins.
So, I like to do the trails. So there's the Farmington Canal Trail, which actually goes all the way down to Cheshire.
Oh,
yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
From here?
But there is a disconnect.
Oh, okay.
They're trying. So there's this plan called. It's like I forget what they call it, but it's Maine to Florida.
Heard of it also, yeah.
So they're trying to connect the trail from Maine to Florida, and I can get from Westfield, Mass.
Yep.
Which is kind of southern Mass.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all the way to I can't even remember Plainville, Connecticut.
Yeah,
Plainville.
Yeah, Plainville.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's 33 miles, one direction, and turn it back around, 33 back, 66 miles. A pretty good bike ride. It's pretty flat. So when you're training for Lake Placid, it's like
gotta get the hills.
A third of the course.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing that bothers me about Lake Placid is the downhills are so big.
Yeah.
and so
sudden and
dramatic that for literally 20% of the race is downhill.
Yeah.
Not even, maybe 10% of the race is downhill. Maybe 20% of the race is flat, and then 70 is climb.
Yeah, I always explain it to my friends. I'm like, it's like this, and then that.
It's exactly.
Yeah. It's like it feels like you climb way more than you descended.
It's and meanwhile you start and stop in the same spot, so you know that can't be the case.
No.
But it's so how did you wind up training for the climbs?
Just Killingworth is really, really hilly.
Yeah.
So, like, I've been, like, running for cross country. Like, our team is like, oh, we're the best at the hills and stuff like that because it's what we train on and stuff. So whenever there's, like, a hilly course, we do pretty good.
Right. So are you doing cross country in college or no?
I was considering it.
They wanted her to.
I was just saying, they're probably like...
Well, they wanted her even as a freshman.
Yeah, a couple schools looked at me. And I was just like, I want to do Ironman.
Like you told us a story before you started this, the commitment for a collegiate athlete is impressive.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And you even said it, to do spring, you also got to do fall.
Right.
For her to run cross country, she has to do indoor-outdoor track and cross country.
I don't know track
so it's
yet.
a lot.
And then limitations on skiing and snowboarding.
Yeah. Like, I didn't move to Colorado to, like, run my entire life. I moved there to, like, experience Colorado.
Go to school.
Go, yeah. Well, obviously.
And school.
A little part.
No, yeah. But I didn't feel like having, like, that much commitment in such a new place where I wanted to, like, be able to experience a lot of things. Even though Ironman training turned into basically, it was like
everyday thing.
Classes.
That's got to ruin your social life for college.
Oh, it was a little bit of a struggle.
I mean, because it's going to limit you.
I got
it
you.
is.
Everyone was so athletic out there that like it wasn't that bad.
Yeah,
like everyone understood.
Like I said, when you're like in that kind of environment, it's almost like you kind of adapt to your surroundings a little bit, or it's easier to adapt to your surroundings. So if I feel the same way just going to Lake Placid sometimes when you're just among the athletes and you wake up in the morning and you walk out. Like I walk out to go get breakfast at 6 a.m. and it's a 3-block walk. And I'll pass like 8 people on the bike and 4 people run past me on, just walking 2 or 3 blocks.
Like, I should be running.
Yeah, it's like, what am I
running? Why am I walking?
Exactly.
A training run.
A ride?
Yeah, and run.
Oh, yeah. 3-4 weeks before the race.
And I was like, kind of like starting to get nervous for the race because it's like, oh my gosh, it's a month away. And we got up there and 50% of the people were in tri-outfits, like in the restaurants. They were dressed in like running clothes, and everyone was biking and swimming, and the marathon and half marathon was going on.
Oh yeah, I've done the half marathon there.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, it sucks.
Well, it's not the same course, is it?
Parts of it are similar. Okay. They do the River Road out and back. I did it for like 5 years ago. Right. So I did the River Road out and back, but coming back into town. The part where you ride the bike out of transition, that steep downhill? Oh. Well, that's the part where you run back up.
Oh, wow.
Which is unrunnable.
No.
It's
like that.
It's, I'm sure she could probably do it.
No.
We're walking.
I had a great moment. So I finished it. I'd done Cheshire and PR'd it. And then 2 months later, I did this, or whatever, a month later, I did this. And I was like a 2.5 hour finish, which was slow for me. Well, so I think I went from like 2:10 to 2.5, and really it was the hills climbing back into town.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
But I got to grab my daughter Sam's hand and kind of walk her up that. Which was great because then I really had an excuse to walk the hill.
Yeah.
But I have a great picture doing the speed skating oval of me and my daughter like holding hands through the finish line,
awesome.
which you can't do in Ironman, otherwise you get DQ'd. But. It was, anyway, I don't want to steal it. This is your show. I don't want
No, I love it.
So, you've had all this background, you've had all this training, you're familiar with Lake Placid and what it is.
Yeah.
Driving into town on race day, or not on race day, on race weekend.
Yeah.
Did you? I mean, it seems like you kind of knew how to feel, like how it would feel, since you've done it before. You've been in town during a race before,
right?
So you kind of, and the Lake Placid just has a way of making you feel like everyone's there just for you.
Yes.
But now it's true. Now you're racing.
Yeah.
So coming into, were you nervous? Did you feel different knowing that you're going to be in this race, or was it sort of like same old?
I had like really bad anxiety probably like a month to go from the race. I came back from a 5 mile, like I transitioned from the bike to the run, and I just did a 5 mile loop around our neighborhood, and probably 50 yards, like I could see the house, and it's a flat 50 yards going up to it, and my heart just like started going really fast, and I thought I was going to pass out, and I was like, I just ran 5 miles, like I should not be feeling like horrible like this. And it was just anxiety, and I would hate having to work out. Just like the thought of it, having the race so soon, just totally got onto me. And then 2 weeks to go for the race, I felt totally fine. I had no anxiety.
Did you actually take like a couple taper weeks, or?
I took one taper week because I was feeling really exhausted, because we go to the half marathon course and I just do my distance day there because it was flat and stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
And I'd feel so tired. And like I'd be turning out mile times that were slower than anything I'd ever done. And it was kind of getting in my head. I was like, oh my gosh, my body's exhausted. I don't want to be doing this right now. I just want to sleep. I just want to not be training.
So you think it was the anxiety though, or do you think that the tapering kind of helped you?
It definitely helped me, because I was like,
more mentally than physically, or physically as well to kind of recharge?
Both, because like I'd go for like a 5 mile run when it was normally like an 8 or 10 mile run on a normal weekday, and I'd be turning out my usual times, and I'd feel rested and I'd feel fine, and it kind of helped my mentality a little bit. And then when we got to Lake Placid, I was just so excited. Yeah, I was not nervous at all, and that was weird for me. I was like,
what was your goal? So like, did you have a goal for this race? I mean, did you just want to finish?
I just wanted to finish.
Yeah, like first time, I think, I mean, it seems like you didn't even think you'd be competitive, and then what was your final time?
My hope was to be competitive. My goal was to finish, and then my secret goal was to podium. Yeah. My finish time was 11 hours, 47 minutes, and 20 seconds. Mm-hmm. So I did
third place in your age group.
Yeah.
So what's the age? Is it like 18 to 25 or something?
24.
24.
18,
yeah.
24, yeah.
And I was about a minute slower than second place, and then like 20 to 30 minutes slower than first place.
No, you were 25 seconds slower than second place.
See, I feel like too, and just kind of going back in my own brain to when I was that age, I feel like, unlike other age groups, I feel like there would be such a disparity between someone who was 18 years old and trying to take the starting line, someone who's 24 who's done it for a few years. Yeah. I feel like, have you looked in, like, do 19-year-olds typically finish on top three, or?
Well, the two girls that finished ahead of us, or me, they were like 23, 24, I think. So they were older. The girl who came in second, Claire, she's so nice. She was so nice. She went to Kona last year after doing Ironman Wisconsin.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know.
One of those.
Right.
And
qualifying,
fast.
Very fast.
She's fast.
And she incredible cyclist.
I think she had a terrible race this year at Lake Placid.
We saw her. She was on Subway Hill, and my aunt went over to her because she's a nurse, and she was throwing up, and her dad was with her
on the sidewalk.
I didn't see her, but
what was her name?
Claire
Robinson.
Oh,
I saw her.
Yeah. So, and she's an incredible athlete.
She just had a bad day.
I think I saw Claire on the bib and someone throwing it. And I think
on Subway Hill, because my aunt went over to her and talked to her, checked her. So because she usually has crazy times.
But the other girls.
And then
it just sounds like a bad stomach issue day or something like that.
Yeah, and happens. Then one of the other girls who's an insane athlete. She's done, this would have been her 10th Ironman.
Oh, that's right.
Her name's Julia. I can't really pronounce it. Slyer.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's crazy. She's gone to Kona because we've researched all of them.
Yeah.
I was just going to say,
because you said competitive. Yeah. So we looked and said, well, how would you stack up?
Did you have an idea that you were like where your time was going to be? Or
not really.
If I executed it right, I would be around them. But she went to Kona 4 times. She's placed in age group at Kona.
Right. So you're kind of not thinking that you, right.
No. It was like,
she's got the win.
Such an honor to run and race with them, but I was like, they're not going to be near me. And then I think Julia had a problem, or she was injured or something. I saw a post about it, and she dropped out on the bike, which was
unfortunate.
Very unfortunate. And she's an incredible cyclist. So Yeah.
Crazy
cyclist.
Heidi or Katie?
Katie. Katie was the girl that won.
She came out of nowhere. She had hopefully a best race of her normal race, but it was her first such Ironman. A nice spirit she has.
Everyone's so nice.
She's so isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I always said that like this sport is so strange because you would think that everyone it's so individual.
Yeah.
And that it's a race, so you're competing against everybody.
Yeah.
But I think most people look at it as really your biggest competitor is yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think
the camaraderie that builds when you're out there is amazing.
And people understand it. You understand it so much how, and you'll read the one-off stories about someone taking the air out of their competitor's tire or something. That's happened before.
Wow.
I didn't think of that. Let's do that.
Sorry. But, you read every once in a while, you read a story like that or someone, people drafting or, and that's...
Whoops.
Yeah,
If you know what drafting is.
Yeah. Well, I tell you,
she took a penalty.
No.
She didn't. It wasn't even Dad, what is drafting?
It was uncalled for.
So did you not go to the pre-race athlete briefing?
Oh, it was
That's all they talk about.
It was me and 3 other guys. Or 2 other guys. And the race official came up, rattled 3 of our bib numbers off, and was like, blue card. And we were like,
oh, man.
What? It was like...
Please tell me you weren't going uphill, because I always feel like that's BS.
I know. It was right after the Keene descent. And we were, how it's kind of like flat, but like...
Yeah, there's some rollers in there. Yeah.
And the guy was like kind of in the middle of the road, so it was like too awkward to pass. And like we started going up a hill, so like you lose all that speed. And it was just a weird situation. And then I had 2 other guys behind me, so I got called for drafting the first guy. They got called for drafting me, and then another guy rattled all of our names off. Man. And I'm like fairly decent on the flat, so I was just like, okay.
So if you added 5 minutes back to your time, will you come in second?
Yeah. It was just unfortunate.
He looks a little more agitated about it than you do.
because we even talked about it afterwards, but that's part of the race.
Yeah.
That's part of racing and competitive. You sometimes take penalties, so now you know.
So, and like, we would... If I was having a rough day on like a training run, because we do the long rides together while I was training, he'd be like, "Oh, just get behind me and draft," and I would say, "No, because I don't want to learn how to draft just in case like I get tired and like tuck in behind somebody." And I'm not a good cyclist.
Well, were you able to kind of experience because it does matter? It does matter. I've been out on rides with like one other person and. If one of us is hurting, we just get behind me and tuck in and
Oh, so
it wasn't even a draft because we were going uphill, so like I didn't really feel anything.
That's
and she literally doesn't know how to draft in the true sense because she's not experienced enough, Scott, to sit behind you this far and not see the road herself.
Right.
So she never drafted.
I need to see
truly
like 10 feet ahead. Like if he gets in front of me, sometimes. I'm always asked to like go ahead because I'm not comfortable with like being an arrow and like trusting the person ahead of me to like point out anything in the road.
Whereas 90% of our rides when we went out long rides, I was tucked in this far behind the wheel because I couldn't keep up.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I'm getting behind this little girl and I'm like, I don't care, it'll help. I'm getting lower and lower. I'm eating my handlebar at the end.
So let me take you back to race day morning. You've got experience with races, obviously, from cross country, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, was it different this time?
So much different.
Yeah.
I mean, cross country, it's a 5K. You know you're going to be in a lot of pain, but it's like 3 miles, 3.1 miles, and it's done. And then you get to take off your spikes and go sit on the bus and fall asleep. It's 20 minutes or less, and it's done. And then I hadn't done like any short distance races since my season ended because then I didn't do indoor. I just took that off to train for the half, and then I had lacrosse. I was captain for my lacrosse team, so I had like to focus on that. And I was kind of getting into like more of the mindset for training for Ironman and like going up to altitude because my school is almost it's 7,763 feet, so we're almost at 8,000 feet.
That's gotta help though.
It does, but you lose it after like couple weeks, you lose all the benefit. I came back here and I was like running. I was like, "Oh, this is so great!"
I got my bike. Awesome. I couldn't keep up with her running. I'm like, "What the?"
But stepping onto the start line, you don't start off running, which is like something that I've only done twice before in like the little sprint where you do 500 meters and like the pond or whatever. And so like you're like, okay, I have to get on my wetsuit, and that's always kind of hard to get on. And like, it's just, there's so many other people, and like, you look around and some people are like already in the water warming up, and some people don't even have their wetsuit on.
Right.
So it's like all different.
Especially doing like your first real kind of full distance. Yeah. It makes you a little nervous, like do it. Yeah.
I just had no clue. Honestly, I had no clue what I was doing. And we had our neighbor, Carrie Cancroft, who's an incredible athlete. She did Lake Placid 3 times and qualified for Kona last year.
Wow.
So she took care of me basically, and my family was there. But they kind of guided me, and like, because he had to be at the
I didn't have to be at the aid station. I didn't want to be at the start. All
right.
Well,
nerves.
Oh my gosh! Every time
around the beach.
Every time he gets in the water when he did Ironman, I'd be like sitting in a lawn chair crying and just like so stressed out because he did it the first year. It's still mass.
I can't imagine being you.
No. So I didn't. Yeah, and it was stages. It's like you're working out. You go through stages. And going back to something you said like 15 minutes ago, that 4 weeks prior to the race, you're burnt out.
Yeah.
She hit the burnt out stage.
I hit.
So I'm stressed out.
Burnout button like that.
I'm trying to keep her going for that 4 weeks because you got to get to the taper, and then everything changes.
Yeah.
So I was stressed out there, stressed out beforehand. Because trying to cheerlead her up.
I'm calling you out.
Yeah.
The athletes are only allowed to like get their stuff in the oval and stuff like. You have to have the wristband. Oh, yeah. I was like, I can do it. So I went in by myself, and then I hear him calling my name, and I'm like, how did you get in here?
Helicopter dad all
and
of a sudden.
I like already set up everything, and I was like, I was about to leave, and he was just like, no, we got to go check. So it was definitely, and it wore on me.
But it was good because we got to get a picture with Mike Riley.
Yes. Yeah. We got to say hi.
He's always there for the bike check.
He's amazing because he's really just, he's present all over like he doesn't, it's not like he hangs out in his hotel room and doesn't come out and
he's
like awesome. He knows his role and he does a really good job.
He is such a chairman / face of / everything else. It was actually a highlight for me. I'll throw it out there, Scott, is for the 3 times I've done it, he's always been in the infield for the bike check-in, and I've got my selfie with him.
Yeah.
I got one with her with him.
Oh, that's great.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
You gotta get those framed, put them on the wall.
And I'm so happy that, because
he never looks older either.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But he's
part vampire, right?
Yeah, he might be.
He's starting to retire on, like, announcing Ironman and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I was so happy that I got to be in one of the Ironman that he's... He always says that he'll do Lake Placid and Kona and like one other one. He'll always do those, but
he also wants to. He's been talking about participating in one. He's never participated, but he trains. He trains pretty hard. So I think if he ever did one, it would be an event. And then wonder if he would like get the mic and have to call himself an Ironman.
I am. That'd be pretty neat.
Mike Riley.
So he was saying one of his funny stories he told, and I'm going to retell it on my own podcast that he told himself, was that he wears his Ironman shirt out, and so one day someone called him out and said, "Hey, what Ironman race did you do?" And he's like, "Oh, I haven't done one." And he's like, "Well, you can't wear the shirt then." It's like, and then he goes, "Oh, well, but I'm Mike Riley," and the guy's like, "Ooh, no way!"
Yeah.
All right, you can wear it.
Never mind.
He's been to enough.
I want to get back to you. Okay. All right. Me and your dad, I think, can talk.
Yeah.
We can talk forever. All right, so we're on the starting line. You're on the beach.
Yeah.
You got the wetsuit on.
Started crying.
Really?
Oh yeah. I was like surrounded.
This is the story.
So like I'm tiny. I'm 5'2", and everyone else is just
it's overwhelming.
Taller than me.
It's and I'm. So you're.
I knew going in. I didn't think I was going to be the youngest female there, but
you were. I didn't even know.
Found out. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because I thought there was an 18-year-old from Canada, but I guess she dropped out or something.
Right.
Or and Mike Riley told us that I was the youngest.
Wow.
And it was actually announced when I crossed the line, but like.
In the beginning?
When I finished, it was like, youngest, blah, blah, blah. But I just felt very small.
Yeah.
And very overwhelmed.
Land of trees.
And I didn't know what I was doing because I knew I was going to go, you know how they have the pacers? They hold up the signs and it's like
an
hour 10.
You got to stage yourself in the right spot.
We had no clue, so...
Because you don't swim.
I don't swim, and I really just stuck to the pool, and I'd never done 2 miles. I do workouts that came up to be 2.5 miles, I think, but it was only in the pool. I had done...
It doesn't equate.
I'd probably done 5 open water swims, but I'd never done 2 miles.
Right.
I'd only done probably like a mile
We've done 1.5.
Yeah. Our
This does not speak well of the coaching.
So I was like, this is my first 2.4 mile swim straight. So like I started to think about that. And then I was like, okay, I don't know what time, because I'm not a swimmer. I'm not a swimmer.
So where did you put yourself?
He kind of thought, no, I did it, because we kind of had a game plan. And he kind of thought, and I had no clue. So I was just going off of what he knew. Mm-hmm. An hour 20, 25, hour 25.
115 to 125.
Yeah.
Maybe an hour 30 if I had like a panic attack or something like that in the water. Because I'm just so unexperienced. I had no clue what I was doing. Especially, swim was supposed to be my weakest event. And so we kind of shot ahead a little bit. So we put me in the seat above what I should come around. So I went to hour 11 to hour 15 spot.
Yeah.
And
so what'd you wind up doing?
I did it in an hour and
10.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was like...
So you're right.
I surprised myself and I went in the right area.
Yeah. That's great.
And it was just...
In the end, it hardly even matters where you stand. But when you're there for your first time, you don't want to be like way up front. I think... And I talked about this on my last podcast with Charlie Duffy, who also did the race. We talked about whether or not do you see yourself aggressively and then get run over, or see yourself back and swim through people.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, for us, we kind of were the same. We were like, well, see myself back, and then that way I can see in front of me and get through people. I'd rather get through people than have to get run over.
You're passing someone versus, which is mentally another game.
And so was that the most crowded, obviously probably, I'm guessing, the most crowded swim you've ever been in?
By far, but honestly, so I was like standing there and I didn't know, I was worried about getting my goggles knocked off my face, because then that totally just screws you over.
Yeah, that'll throw you off.
So I, probably 5 times, I took my cap off, put my goggles on, put the cap back on, and I was like, I don't like this, and then took it off, and then put the goggles back on over the cap, and I did that. I went back and forth, and people were, like, looking at me like, what is she doing? Yeah. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Just a nervous moment.
And I totally just kind of got caught up in the moment, and I started crying, and, like, these nice women next to me, they started crying because I was crying, and we all had just, like, a nice moment. And then I don't know, I, like, expected the swim to just, like, they let you go all at once, kind of, like, your seated time kind of go, but there are 2 people and they like open their hands up like this to let you go through one at a time, which I kind of liked.
It just spreads you out a little bit more so you're not as crowded. They used to, by the way, it used to be just a mass start. Were you in a mass start?
Last year.
I've never done one.
It was horrible to watch.
Yeah, it was incredible. It was pretty awesome.
So when I did Maryland, the swimmers caught up to us on their second loop, and we were on our first. And I was in pretty good position from where I wanted to be, and you get a little more current in that kind of water, so everyone gets pushed together. And the current was taking us this way, and you had to get around the buoy. So everyone's on the outside is getting on the buoy, and everyone who's in the inside has to swim back out. And you're just and my friend got hit by a boat. It was actually we started at the same time. So someone raised their hand to get help, and the kayak came in.
Gosh.
And I heard someone hit the boat, and I didn't know it was him. And I'm like, later on, I was like, oh, someone got hit by a boat. He's like, that was me.
Oh my god.
We got video, like our picture came in, and us coming out of the water, we were right next to each other. We didn't even know.
Oh yeah.
Didn't even know.
You get totally caught up.
I was a little bit ahead.
A little bit. Literally across the timing pad.
Like 0.5 seconds.
Yeah.
But in your first time doing an event like this, it is nerve-wracking, and especially it sounds like also you were by yourself. So I had the good fortune of being with two people that had done the race before, which really helped calm my nerves the first day. So being there by yourself, I totally understand having the nerves. But when gun goes off, now you're going in the water, you're getting funneled in.
Yeah.
When did the nerves go, or do they? Maybe they last all day.
So I from cross country, I owe a lot of I think my ability to get myself together and race is from cross country. And at the start line of a cross country meet, you're so nervous, and then the gun goes off, and then it just it leaves. It's like a shivery rush.
Awesome.
And like, it's just the adrenaline goes and the nerves we say, leave the nerves at the start line. Like, don't let it mess up the race. So
Well, you got to get to work. You got to go.
yeah. And so people started going for my seed, and I was like, all right, this is happening. I can't stop this. Like 7 months of training for one day. This is what I've been building up for. And so I just got into the water and I was like, this is what I have to do.
Yeah.
And so I just went. And
hour and 10 minutes later, you're out.
And it was honestly not a bad swim. So, I had like a pocket on my second lap for probably, you know how I have like the buoy lengths?
Yes.
Like it's probably
For, yeah.
How long do you think the
between the
distance
buoys?
It's like I think it's 200 yards, but I'm not sure.
So probably for like 3 buoys, I didn't even see anybody ahead of me. I could see people on my side and
Clear
see people
water.
on that side.
Nice.
But
You were in first.
complete.
Yeah.
Where'd the winners go? I had really nice pockets where I just did not.
That's great.
Nobody touched me.
Yeah.
I didn't get hit by anybody.
I was the exact opposite. I felt like I was in a crowd the whole day.
You said that.
And I tried to come really tight, which I never do because I always swim wide.
Yeah.
And I just felt like I was just fighting people, and I was expending so much energy fighting people that I'm like, I got back wide. And really, the second loop was a little bit better than the first.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
It was a little bit less.
People kind of find their spots, and then it's it's a lot less
fast first loop.
Yeah. So I think that was a lot of the adrenaline. I was like, oh my God, just get me out of this water. And
That's good form right there.
Yeah.
This doggy paddle.
Reach, catch, pull. Yeah, all right.
The only place that I really hit a lot of traffic was going around the buoys on the outside. But there's such a current.
That always happens. Yeah.
It kind of it takes you. Like you're coming up and like sighting. That's what I did.
Yeah.
I sighted literally every single stroke on the turnaround.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Just to like make sure I was going in the right direction and such a small thing. And I was so paranoid that I was gonna like get DQ'd by like getting swept around the inside. So I was just kind of freaked out and like that was probably like the worst part of the swim, like people wise. But the current, you could feel the current, which I didn't expect, of like all the momentum of everybody
you get a little
around
push.
you.
Yeah, you definitely get a little. It's like when you do a little, like if you get like the above ground swimming pools,
the
and everyone,
whirlpool.
Yeah.
That's not.
It's a similar effect. It doesn't get that.
Not as much of an effect, but you in your mind try to go with
it's
it.
Like it's basically draft. It's like drafting kind of in the water. But
well, if you can find some of the draft, that's awesome in the water.
But that's another thing that you have to practice.
Yeah.
It's like it's very hard.
Yeah.
Charlie, the guy, I was talking to him after the podcast next. I don't think this was in the podcast. And what he was saying was that he's a right side breather and he wound up swimming next to a left side breather. And every stroke they would take, they'd look at each other. And he's like, it got really weird for a while.
I could totally see that. That's so funny.
All right. So now you're getting out of the water. So it sounds to me like the run is your discipline of the three.
Which is unfortunate because it's the last thing you do.
Right. And at that point, it's not, it's like, well,
off.
it's like whatever.
Whatever you have left in the tank, that's what
it
leave
is.
on the
It's
run.
like, it's like, that's why triathletes don't do a lot of 20-mile runs. It's like, what's the sense?
Right.
It's like you cap out like 15 to 18 typically.
Yeah.
Yep.
But there's no sense in doing 20 miles because you have absolutely no idea. You're not going to go out and do a 17-hour trip. Well, for you, 11, but for me, I'm not going to do a 17-hour training day to practice to practice that moment.
Yeah.
It's tough to get there. So, were you worried about the bike at all? You said you were out on the. I'm assuming before when you said you'd done a loop. Did you do a loop of the course?
Yeah, we did I ended up doing 127 miles because we didn't know there's 2 down and outs.
The old down and out.
Oh, you didn't know when.
We didn't know. We didn't math. He's done so many that he knows the old one, and then we had the new one that we did during the race.
They change it every once in a while.
Yeah. Except the old down and out has, which is impossible, and they should like look into this meteorologically and like just weather-wise, a double headwind. Where you have a headwind going out and then a headwind coming back in. And like it's a legit headwind.
For an individual person. You could start 5 minutes behind and it's still the same thing.
Yeah. So it's weird and the tar's horrible.
I've heard that about that.
We looked at the
My friend
map,
did that.
and on the website it had the old down and out, so it's like
we were
paranoid.
Like, all right.
So I'm like, Grace, let's do the old down and out.
Let's just do it so we get the practice, and then we'll do the new one. So we ended up doing a lot more mileage.
I've heard the road is really bad, and the hills on that down and out aren't terrible.
Like it's flat.
It's a little roller. Yeah, it's similar to like that first when you get down a Keene.
Yeah.
Which is actually when I did that course in 2017, and it's kind of nice to have that. It's just a little extra sort of relatively flat kind of thing. And net, obviously net flat.
You can catch your breath before you...
That hill onto 86, when you go onto that, which now is left, it used to be, when you come down, it would be right.
It used to be a right-hand turn.
My first year I did it, that hill destroyed me the second loop. It just
they should have
stole my will.
Of that hill. And stop all the athletes, just slap them in the face, because that's what like, just slap me down. There you go. Come on your way.
It's a big slap in the face.
Yeah.
So we'd done both. So whatever was going to be on the course, I was ready for. But I felt good coming out of the water, and it was funny because I'd never had somebody like take my wetsuit off for me. And I tell this story to everybody because it's actually pretty funny. I made eye contact with one of the ladies and her like helper,
strippers, right?
Yeah.
And
the wetsuit strip.
Clarify.
And I like pointed to her and I was just like, I need your help. And so they got me on the ground and they just pulled it off of me. And I was like, I literally said, I was like, wow. And they started cracking up because I was like, I usually struggle for like 10 minutes getting it off my ankles. And then you have to like pull it back up and like restart.
So you're very cognizant of your chip also?
Yeah.
Did you wind up using the so they tell you to use the pins?
I used a safety pin.
Yeah. That's something that over the course of time you're probably not going to bother with.
I did. Yeah, I used the safety pin because I was like, okay, if I lose this chip while I'm doing the race, that's a ridiculous thing to like
to have to worry about.
Not have a finishing time for. So I was just everything precautionary.
But that's one of those areas where I get worried that when they strip off the wetsuit, that's going to catch on the thing and I'm going to lose my chip.
No, and so I was like blown away by how easy it was that they took off the wetsuit. Cool. And then
the thing for me about that moment is like it's probably when you finish quicker, it's a little less sandy. Yeah. But by the time I get there, the sand is just everywhere. Yeah. So you got to lie in the sand.
And it's all
and you got that grit. Yeah, and then like when you finish late in the night and you come home and you're like, there's still sand. There's still sand on my there's still sand on me.
Dang, that was a quarter of a pound that was added on that I could have not had. And we had 50 people.
Well, 41.
41 people.
When you said
at Lake Placid.
A lot of supporters.
And we were wearing tie-dye, bright, because I had the Wadi Ink Prism kit, which is tie-dye, and I love it. It's like rainbow tie-dye, and so we had all of our support team in bright tie-dye shirts, and I could just see the funnel to transition just lined with all of our people. So it's such a like awesome transition for me, and like that kind of every time I saw people, it just.
So were you guys on Mirror Lake Drive?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Did we? I didn't talk.
We had a house.
You might. Were you there at late in the night?
Yes.
Right up till Maureen. Sorry.
Mora.
You might be on. Did you listen to the podcast? Did you watch on the YouTube or did you listen to the podcast?
I just listened to the podcast.
You might be on. You might be on my video.
Awesome.
Right along and follow that curve.
Stay strong.
I had the music. I had
the
music cranked.
Because we have a house. Speaker. We rent a house.
Because there was I
think wicked.
Yeah, on Mirror Lake, and we put a huge speaker.
I was drunk,
and all of us.
She was done. I'm drinking.
All of us get lined up, and we cheer in the last people, and like it was so awesome because we had some of these people, and they were like dancing with us. They'd like come around, and we had. Like, I don't know, 80s classics, and like Disco Inferno came on, and they would do the disco past us.
So this is what I love. Like, so you were done in 11 hours. You probably ate lunch, went back and showered, hung out a little bit, had a little dinner, went out, and then I ran by.
Yeah, and she was, well, that was the thing. You know how it is too. The euphoria after the race, the down. After the race, the release of everything.
Yes.
And then she couldn't stand up, and walking, and then she started walking. And then, late at night. We should go through stages.
Yeah.
The swim transition.
Back to the swim transition is I got to see, because it's impossible to miss us. And like people would always, Mike Riley calls us out like every year for our tie-dye shirts. And so I just had like a tunnel of all these people that were there for me.
That's
and
awesome.
Just like for Ironman to like carry me, because it's a long transition. It's like a quarter of a mile run.
Oh, it is. Yeah,
it's so long. It's so long. So like that was so nice having them there for my transition.
They should take that off the back end of the marathon.
Yeah, true.
That's fair.
That's so true.
26.
Because then you're like left with like a 10-minute transition. You're like, what the heck?
It is like a quarter mile run.
I ran.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a 10-minute transition, I think I was 15, but yeah, I think I mean, that's because you have to. I mean, you think about it. It's 3 minutes of running.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, at least. Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels like more.
Yeah.
But you're right.
So coming out of the swim, I felt great, which was so surprising to me because usually I'm like gassed after my runs.
Right.
And I got nervous for pacing because I'd never done the distance. So I kind of chilled on my swim. Like, I wish I knew that I was like actually doing well.
Yeah.
That I would have picked it up a little bit more.
Yeah, well, that's the one thing that's different about the swim is like it's really hard to kind of look at your watch and try to figure out how you're doing. You have no idea where you are. You couldn't even do it.
I get pace crazy because of running.
Well, running, yeah.
So
Every runner is a mathematician.
Oh,
Yes.
I get so in my head about paces and stuff like that I decided to not race with any watch.
Yeah.
I didn't have any speedometer on my bike.
Wow.
I didn't have anything. So anytime that I knew,
yeah, I was gonna sneak one into her bike pack
because I wanted to know the wattage and stuff like that. But the only way I'd figure out like what my times were was calling out to like the people, like our people. I'd be like, what was my time? And they're like, I don't know. And then I'd see them again. I'd be like, did you figure out my time? And they'd be like, yes, it was like an hour, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So it was.
So what were your impressions of the bike though? So you transition out, you're on the bike. Was it?
It was, so everyone told me to not, you're so hyped up on the energy and like you're just coming out of town, you know that huge hill coming out of town and it's just, it never ends.
Yeah, to Cascade.
And like
the climb?
Yeah.
Where
after
you
the
are.
Iron Bridge, after the bridge.
Well, before that.
Yeah.
Before that, but yeah.
It like goes around a corner and then you're like up straight and like everyone's like, do not, if you feel like you're racing and you're breathing hard, slow down. Yeah. Because you're hyped up on that energy.
Right.
And
that is like a common piece of advice that I hear a lot.
Yeah. And I listened to it, but not well enough, I think. And I kind of like gassed myself on that first hill. And then I had him, our friends, like Mrs. Jennings, Mr. D'Amico, all my friends from cross country, because those are like my best friends. And like we've been through, you know. And so all of
parents,
them...
Are they volunteering or are they...
Yeah,
so basically, Bike Aid Station 1...
was all my people.
There were 3 people that didn't know
Save
her,
like 3 people.
15 of us.
And so I like... That kind of was like, okay, that's like my treat to like... Because they can actually interact with me. Like, I can stop and like... They could do stuff for me rather than like having people like on the sideline that like can't touch me or I'll get like... a penalty. They can't give me anything, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Can't take assistance.
So, like, that was, like, my treat to have them out on the course, either the first loop right away and then halfway mark, basically. So, that was definitely such an awesome thing.
Yeah.
And that was, like, nice for the first loop because...
Probably better the second loop.
No. I actually had, like, a reverse race. I hit such a wall on the first loop around the Wilmington Hill, like the flats and stuff.
That'll do it.
So I just hit a wall and I was like, oh my God, I'm at mile 40 and I have an obscene amount of miles more to go and I'm already tired.
It's such a mental hurdle because then you got to go back out and do that whole thing again.
Oh, and you're like, okay, I just swam and it's mile 40, but I have
70 to go.
70 to go and a marathon.
Yep.
And your mind just totally goes, oh my gosh. This is awful.
Yeah.
This is what the Ironman is.
Yeah.
The Wilmington area.
Yeah.
I was like, this is awful. This is.
It'll break you.
I was like, because I was fairly confident during training on like my biking skills as like a cyclist, and I was doing pretty good. Like I never got like horribly fatigued, and like I've never had like a awful bike except for kind of towards the end when I was just tired and like mentally like drained. So then it happening on race day, I was like, oh, this sucks. Mm-hmm. And then I just kind of went through it and like grinded through it. And then I actually really enjoy biking the new Down and Out. I think it's fun. The tar is beautiful.
Exactly.
And it's
the
like
road is just pristine.
Yeah,
it's perfect.
And it's right on the river. And I just like seeing people like going the other way and like us going this way. And it's like flat kind of. And it has like some uphills, some nice downhills. And so I kind of like picked myself back up there. And then I was like, okay, next thing to do is like the bears, the hills.
Yeah.
Mama bear, Papa bear, baby bear. And I didn't.
Which aren't as bad.
No.
They're not, they get a vicious reputation, but they're not really that.
You like get over them and you're like, all right. But
Yeah.
they changed up the course this year because you went over the bears.
And then you make the right, which is, there's another little hill right there. And sometimes when you get a Papa Bear, then you make the right and you go up.
Yeah.
Right. But now you go over it and then come back
down.
and take a left up.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that because then it's not like an immediate like.
Right.
back
Agreed.
up it.
Agreed. Yep.
Yeah.
And then
So you kind of got a little of that energy back.
I did. And then you're back into town and all of our people were on the hill and like Carrie ran up the hill with me and was like, how are you feeling? And I was like, I feel awful. I want to stop. But then just like seeing people that we know and like people that I know, it definitely boosts your morale and just everybody's cheering.
And not having the experience, I guess you kind of did the one practice run, but not having the experience of doing it before, it's not that it'll break you, but it's like that hill, climb back in.
It is a slap to the face.
And then trying to get the will to go back out. And it's like, it's not like a run or, or someone's just going to pick you up. It's like you go out, you got to go very far that way.
Yeah, and then far back. And then
very alone.
You get back into town and you're like, oh, this feels good. And then you're like, no, I have to go do the exact same thing that I just did and wanted to cry on, but even more tired.
And the aid stations are, if you break down on the bike and the aid stations could be 11 miles away.
Yeah. So, but it's funny because I listen to old school like just kind of alternative music. Kind of, it's funny because you'd never expect that. So Fall Out Boy is one of my like favorite bands, and they had Fall Out Boy playing in town, and that totally just was like, okay, you can do this. Because like I trained to that music.
Turns into a training moment.
Yeah, so then I'm like, oh no.
Which song?
Refocus.
Do you remember?
Oh, I don't remember. But I just remember hearing it and I was like, yes. Like, this is okay. I've trained to this music. Because, like, it hypes you up. And then it's
they
something.
Play good music. They do have, like, a couple spots where they play.
And it's something familiar.
Yeah.
And, like, you have all Fall Out Boy songs are, like, high energy. So you're like,
Eye of the Tiger plays, like, I think they play it every half hour.
We had it on the run.
Yeah.
And Rocky
it's an
King.
iconic song.
Yeah.
You gotta.
So, all right. So, now you hit the aid station, see your dad.
And
second loop. First loop, she
flew past.
Most
I actually didn't stop
through.
at any of the bike aid stations. At all. Except,
I usually think that I'm not going to, but every once in a while, I feel like, and I don't know, because I ride in 8 hours. So you'd probably go around twice in 8 hours. But I get like, I can, if I just put my feet on the ground for 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just it just helps that 20 seconds. It will give me more.
You'll get 3 minute benefit out of it.
Totally.
Until the next aid station, and I'll do it again. But I only did that like on the second loop. The first loop I kind of made it through.
That's good.
I stopped.
That's good
Because everyone was there. I stopped and I refueled.
Right. So now you take the powder out of the baggie, refill, add water.
Yeah. And so he did that for me, and I was just kind of sat there. And I just started like, I didn't cry, but I got hysterical, I'm calling it, where I just kind of like made noises that sounded like I was sobbing, but I wasn't really crying.
Like
and I was
panic
just,
or is it?
I think I was just emotional because like everyone was there and everyone was like around me, which totally was bad for the other athletes because everyone just kind of got ditched.
Here's your water, whatever.
But I had like a moment and I was like, all right, this is like, I need to just pull myself together and get this done, and like having everyone there to like kind of refuel my bike and refuel my mind.
Yeah.
I like was able to get out and like I just felt good.
Right.
So I felt good the second lap and I felt horrible the first lap.
Yeah. So all right. So one of the things I was kind of trying to save this for the right moment. This might be it.
Okay.
And probably the reason that you're here was your name was written on the floor everywhere. Like, I left Lake Placid I was driving down Route 87. I was expecting to see, like, Go Grace on the...
Yeah.
So, did you notice this? Did you know it was there?
Yes.
Was it, when you saw it, were you, like, embarrassed? Like, oh, that's me?
Well, so every year, that's what we do, is we get spray paint chalk from Amazon and just, like, normal chalk. And we do it for him and, like, our family friend Tom, who does it, who's the one that actually reached out to you when he saw the post, and Carrie and just everyone that we know, and we go chalk their names all over the course. Yeah. But we went
to a new level this year.
Him and our family friend, Rich Anziano, and his daughter was there. All of the kids, or like people my age, they went out in 2 cars and they chalked every single hill.
So we grabbed two Honda Pilots, so we get 11 kids, or kids.
The day before.
20-year-olds or 18 or 20-year-olds. They're not kids. But all her friends and every hill. And we'd stop, pull over.
Yep.
Poof, I'd whistle if traffic was coming, and we just graffitied the road that you saw as best we could.
It was the Great Chalk.
Shortage. The Great Chalk.
2019.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
We had so much fun doing it, and the kids are great. Crazy about it.
They just write crazy
Her sister
things.
Ava and just all of our friends.
And I like saw it on the first hill coming out of town, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is a ton of chalk. And then I see Grace in huge letters, and I was like, oh, so this is what they were doing. This is what they were doing when they left for 3 hours yesterday.
So it's wild. You saw it.
Yeah.
You could not see it. Right?
No, I think it's one of those things where you never know what's going to get your attention on race day. You never know when you're going to be paying attention, but it's like the first time I saw her name, and I was like, oh, it's just
something there.
Yeah.
Because, like my daughter will go, and when we jump in the water, she'll go over near, was it Lisa G's or Lisa?
Oh, yeah.
And she'll wait for me at the bike, and they'll write with chalk on the road. So it's like one of those things. I'll look at other people's messages because I'm looking for mine sometimes, And so I noticed it once, and then I think I noticed it again, and then I noticed it again, and
then you're holy crap.
Then you're like, oh, who is Grace?
and to be honest, I was posting my podcast on the Ironman Lake Placid page, and I wanted to kind of come up with some other aspect that no one had mentioned before without looking like I was just pushing my own podcast. So I'm like, everyone's going to remember Grace. And they did.
I had people
Actually, I heard your name the next day because we went to the breakfast.
Yeah.
And they introduced you as coming in third in your age group.
Yeah.
And when I heard the name Grace, I thought, I wonder if that's the Grace.
That was the Grace.
Oh, to put it together. Yeah.
People would call me out for being 19. So like I'd have conversations on the bike. They're like, "Oh, my son's 19. I'm gonna tell him that you're doing."
You have it on your calf.
I had it. I had that one like temporary tattooed on my calf, and then we didn't have the numbers.
Yeah.
So we just had that. So they kind of like they wear off, but the name or the
decal,
right?
The age was like right front and center, so people would be like, "Wow, like what the heck?" And then they'd see my bib on the run, and they were like, "Oh, you're Grace. I saw you." And people knew, like, you'd make friends on the bike and stuff like that. And I think, I don't know, but random people would bike next to me and they'd be like, "You're Grace." And I'd be like, "Yeah, who are you?" And then, like, you talk to them. So it was cool. And then everyone would see my name on the hill and they'd be like, "Oh, I'm picturing my name as your name." And all those messages are for me now.
Oh, that's brilliant.
That's an interesting tactic.
Yeah. So it was fun. Because then I was, like, known as the chalk. Crazy people.
Well, you were hilarious. I think in your Tom told us in the post, it was like, "Who's this Grace?" And she has a lot of supporters, and clearly they had a lot of chalk.
Yeah. So
that's great.
That was definitely a highlight. And seeing all those.
Did it actually?
Yes.
So it did. It mattered.
Yeah. Because then I'd be like, okay, there's a hill, but then there's a message for me.
Right. You're right. So you can help use it to kind of mentally draw you in or get you over the hump. I think that's great.
It was fun.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
All right. So now you're getting off the bike.
And
so at some point here, like, you got the finish, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
my thing
barring something like a broken ankle or something, which,
it's
but
like you can make it through the marathon even if you walk it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I was not nervous about that. Like, I was, by the time, because my fear is on the bike, mechanical problem. I have a thing where I'm a crazy hard shifter, and my chain comes off every bike ride, which is unfortunate, because then, like, you have to pull over, and you get grease on your hands.
The flat tires are the worst.
Yeah, wow. And, like, we would have, like, clinics, as we call it, where we just, like, be like, quick, change the tire. So then I'd change the tire, and, like, I'd know how to patch it. I knew how to, but, like, I didn't really know. Like, I'm not that good.
And when you're out there, it's even harder.
And you're shaky and like you're just like panicking. You're like, oh my God, this is 10 minutes off my time.
Yeah.
And so thankfully.
Well, 10 minutes if you're good at it.
Yeah. Honestly.
That's a good point.
And so thankfully I had no mechanical problems on my bike.
Yeah.
Like none.
Yeah.
And I actually ride his bike because I don't have my own bike. Yeah. And so like it's
Christmas
a
is
little
coming.
too big.
I
know. We're starting to look.
Yeah, we're starting to look now.
So like I was just so happy to be off the bike, you know?
Yeah.
Because now I'm like, okay, you can walk the run if you really needed to.
If you had to, yeah.
I got off the bike and you know how it's hard to walk with bike shoes on?
Oh, yeah.
And your legs are already
and then,
tired.
Right, and after 100
Me and this lady got off at the same time and I like was flailing trying to like run.
Right.
And I was just like, this is inefficient. This is wasting energy. I'm going nowhere. And the lady ahead of me was doing the same thing. She like turned around and we like looked at each other and I was like, let's walk. And she was like, yeah. So then we walked through transition.
Yeah.
And that
on that
kinda,
little
like,
gravelly, it's like, it's really hard. Yeah.
So next year or next time that we do, because we're planning on doing it 2022.
Uh-oh. Yeah, spoiler.
Doing it together?
Like,
if we can.
Similar. We'll probably be similar times.
Oh, no. He means just at the same time.
Oh, yeah. We're
not
doing
at the same moment.
We'll probably be similar.
We're very different places.
I'm making myself, because I'll have more experience on the bike and on the swim, but on the bike, I'm going to learn how to, like, undo the shoes while they're still on it so that I can just run barefoot and not have to deal with trying to walk and maneuver.
We had a guy in
shoes.
Maryland run barefoot through gravel and slice up his foot really bad. So you gotta be careful about that. And he actually had to bail from the race on the run.
Gosh.
Yeah. Which he was actually my coach at the time.
Oh wow.
Oh, no kidding.
And then he was yelling at me on the run because he was watching the race.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you DNF'd. I'm out here. And she's like, stop walking. I'm like, what are you talking about? I beat you, didn't I? He has sliced up foot. It was really bad. Which was funny because he took his timing chip off and the guy on a golf cart had it. And he started driving around the course and everyone who was tracking him was like, how did he run 3-minute miles?
15 miles per hour.
But I'm sorry.
No.
This is my, Anyway.
And so
transition, you got
my
your shoes.
transition. I actually, because I listened to your podcast about it, I didn't change socks. I was like, no,
you're okay.
I'm not, because I like cushy. I love thick.
Did you get the rain though on the second loop? You probably were fast enough.
I actually did.
You did
on the down and out, like torrential downpour for like 3 minutes intervals, and like it did it like 3 or 4 times. So
I think that it was the combination of that rain that I ran through, and then also my sneakers got soaked, and I don't really know how. I don't remember. I think in the aid stations I was pouring water over my head, and I didn't notice it.
You didn't realize.
And one of the things I was talking about the other day that I didn't even mention on the podcast was like the shoes were heavy.
Yeah,
like they were soaked through and they were heavy.
Yeah,
and it's like you don't need at that point, but you don't need to be carrying around an extra 5 pounds of heavy shoes with you on a on a marathon after an Ironman. It's like.
Yeah.
It's terrible. But so you wore the same socks. You went at
I did. But I had extra socks in all my transition bags, all my special needs bags. And so
she had evening gown in there. She had high heels,
I had
sneakers.
Your first time, you got to bring everything.
I had a tiara.
It's like a carry-on.
Yeah, it looked like I was going back to school. I had my bedding. No, but I had an extra change of socks because I was like, okay, I probably don't want to be in pee-soaked, sweaty socks. That happens. My own. But in transition, I was just like, you know what? Like, this is fine. I'm okay. Because, like, I'd run in the rain and, like, you get wet sometimes just biking, like, through a puddle. So, like, I don't know. It was one of the last things on the lists of to-dos while I was transitioning. So I just threw on my shoes. And I felt I had so much fun on the marathon.
Yeah.
That's unusual.
Yeah, I was just going to say, that's...
I had no clue. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be tired. I'm going to be miserable. And I tell this to everybody, I was like, I had so much fun on the run.
You know what it sounds like? It sounds like she had probably built-in anxiety for the swim and the bike.
Yeah.
And then now it's over. And now you're in your comfort zone.
I was like, okay, I can walk this. And I can still finish.
Yeah.
You know
how it is. You're like worried about transitions. Everyone the first year is like, well, what's the cutoff for the swim? And it's very few athletes that miss the cutoff for the swim. What's cutoff for the bike? Again, you're going to make it. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
But it's one of those anxieties that you're thinking about that you're never going to realize.
You're like, how slow can I do this to still be able to do this?
Yeah.
You know?
Now you have 8 hours to get off the marathon.
That's funny. So a friend of mine calls it like the point of only, where you hit a point where you're like, so for me, it's like, it's like 2 miles. And I'm like, oh, I only got 2 miles left to go.
Yeah.
For her, it's like a marathon. It's like, I only got 26.2.
Yeah. That's a good
But it's like it's a mental place where you hit, and all of a sudden you're comfortable that that's all you got left. I know, and then I'm not saying that the marathon isn't a challenge for you, but
yeah.
But it seems like, especially you can picture it. Your first time there, nerves, like you're saying, crying on the beach, and all that stuff. Now you're hitting the marathon, you got it.
Yeah.
And you're just it's all
like,
lifted
I'm
to the point where you can have fun.
2/3 of the way done. Like, this is like the home stretch, even though it's a marathon. And I started running, and I was like, awesome. Like, I didn't feel, because, like transition days, like brick days that you do during training, you're like going out for your run right after the bike, and you're like, oh, this is terrible. And it takes like 2 miles for your legs to like wake up and be normal, like normalized to that motion rather than spinning. Right. You're going.
I try to explain that to people, and it's kind of hard to explain, but it's like the muscles on the bike are a little tiny bit different than the muscles on the run, and it's like a different, it's like a different part of your quad or something that gets, and it takes time to,
because you just did this motion for
6
hours, and then now you're doing this motion for hours.
So it's a little different, and it just takes a little bit time for those bike legs to go, and then the run legs to kind of kick in.
Yeah. I did not have that at all. I think maybe I was just like caught up in like the adrenaline of being in town, and like
I gotta tell you, I'm excited for her next one.
I know.
I feel like mentally it's like she had to deal with like a lot of stuff, and now she's got that comfort level is gonna just kick in, and
now I'm just gonna have more experience.
That's the thing, that's the beauty is, the goal to just finish. It is a goal.
Yeah.
And it's everyone's. It should be everyone's.
No matter how good you are.
And then you can go to that next level.
Yeah,
the commitment, the experience to know that you're going to burn out 4 weeks before the race. You're going to be burnt out. You know it now. So you work your way through it. Now in the race you're going to have a low moment. It ends. It moves on. You're going to have anxiety moments. It move on. And you could be, there's so many people in the race. They just finishers, that's where I started. And then you get to the ultra competitive, which we're not there yet. You and I. Present company excluded. But it's that commitment to get there, and the strength, the experience plays a huge part in that. Because having done it now, you know what to expect.
Yeah.
Now she knows what to expect.
It's just mentally, it's like a brand new, it's so different.
Yeah. It is.
After there's the first, and I think that's one of the reasons why they give you that orange wristband. It's just because it is so different, and it's just.
What's the orange wristband?
I'll say your first time.
Oh.
They give you a little orange. You didn't know that?
I had green.
Oh, so you get a green one, but then you also get an orange one, which you probably didn't have.
I didn't have.
You did. It's in your bag when they give it to you when you register. And they should have given it to you. I'm surprised they didn't.
I didn't know.
So it used to be the same type of band, just orange, but now it was like one of those, like a rubber.
Oh yeah,
rubber
bracelet.
Red?
Yeah.
The red, it's like the red. It was the same thing, but it should have been orange. If they didn't give it to you, you missed out.
Probably
wow.
So what happens is you walk around Lake Placid and people see that you have the orange wristband, and they know it's your first timer, and they usually say something nice to you.
Oh, wow.
But you missed out on that. You didn't get the second time.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move it forward. So.
Yeah.
You finish. You're feeling good, and you're running. You're getting close to that finish line.
Yeah.
You're coming down Mirror Lake Drive. So give us the moment. Like, give us.
Well, so probably at mile 15, my legs started to cramp, my thighs, and I could feel it. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's because I didn't push salt, which is like the same thought that you had, that you talked about.
Cramp.
And so I started pushing salt, and I think for me, I didn't overdo it, and it like kind of helped me prevent having more crampage as I went on. But when I ran up Subway Hill, we had all our people there, and my hands were like this. Yeah. I call it my Tyrannosaurus Rex run, and I was literally, my head was back. I couldn't hear anybody. I was just like focused on getting up the hill. I had not walked at all during the marathon, and that was like my goal, because I get crazy because I'm a runner. I'm like, I can't walk, because you get kind of like that drilled into your head. So I was like, I cannot stop on this hill. I need to just keep going. And I was just, my brain was just thinking, run, run, nothing else. I was so gassed. My legs hurt so bad. And I got over the hill and I was like, okay. Now it's just 1.5 miles, if that, like less.
Right.
And we have the house.
You got your people there too.
Well, they were all at the finish line.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. Yeah.
But we had a couple people because we had some people on crutches, and they just stayed by
Tom
the house.
Christy, right?
Tom and Christy. And so I went around the turnaround, and our house is like
right there.
50 yards past the turnaround.
Yeah.
And Tom yelled to me. He's just like, "Are you okay?" And I just went. He was like, are you okay? And I just went, twice, and kept on running. And he was just like, I was gonna tell her that she like had no color in her face, and she just looked like she was close to death. But then I was just, because he was gonna text you guys and be like, she does not look good.
No. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
I could not talk.
Besides, you're at that point you're
finished.
You're less than 1 mile away from looking good.
Yeah.
You know, it's like there's a way.
Yeah.
Something happens in that last few, especially as soon as you hit that downhill.
Yeah. I honestly, now that I'm like thinking about it, I don't remember like seeing like people running. Like you just get such a tunnel vision, and you're like hurting, and you're like, oh, this is so close to being done.
Tractor beam sets in.
It
it's
is.
Just like,
That's exactly how
really
you
remember.
it.
Yeah.
But so I'm going down that hill back into town, and you know how there's like a little squiggle before you like.
Oh yeah, you got to go down and the right and then left.
And then turn into the oval.
Yeah.
I hit that, and everyone was like cheering, and I just started sobbing, and it was like I was just yelling because that's like the only thing. Like it wasn't like normal crying. I was like, ugly cry, just yelling and crying. And I was crying all around the circle, and they have like the video of me, and you can just see me like yelling and like just so. Hitting the carpet, even like the oval is like cool and stuff like that, but then you hit that red carpet and you're like, oh my gosh,
it's over.
Oh my gosh, and like,
but you try to savor the moment, but you're running through it, and it's like,
and you see like the big thing, like the big Ironman with the time, and because he was captain, this was like our key moment, which was so amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was captain and he knew the woman running it, Bethany. He got the green wrist to be at the finish line.
I worked Bethany and Hardy and the finish line team.
He was there, and he caught me on the line and gave me my medal, which was just the icing.
That's the moment. You know, and you had like a primal coming down the carpet halfway.
All my finish line pictures, I'm like
just screaming. She's psyched.
They're cool finish line photos. I'm really excited about the moment that they captured. But he caught me, and like we were both just sobbing, and like I couldn't walk. My legs were like 2 4x4s. They just were planks. They would not move, and so it was just
awesome.
That was like the best moment, honestly. And then I got to go. Everyone like propped me up, like weekend at Bernie's, and I got to hug everybody on.
Was the pizza hot when you were there? Because it wasn't. It was pretty bad.
But I didn't even touch it.
I didn't even touch it. Yeah. I just sat there, and it was.
Yeah.
It's 7 months or more, or whatever, how long you've been training for, and it's over and die. And you're like, did that just happen?
Right.
Like, you don't remember things. You're just like, oh, I just swam. I just biked.
That's I'm on the run, and I'm like, I can't even remember swimming today. Like, I swam today. And I swam far.
2.5 miles.
I just did a huge event, and it doesn't even feel like it sometimes. Yeah.
So you did you know right away that you were third, or did you?
No. I was not.
Yeah, you didn't really care. You were just happy to finish.
I was happy to be finished, and I was just so tired, and I was like, my legs just hurt so bad. It took me like 3 days to like walk semi-normally. Yeah. I was like kind of like hobbling around.
Yeah, I had the blisters. I'm still walking around.
Yeah, I know.
But I want to bring it to you for a second because we're dads.
Oh, yeah.
We've heard this story about finishing, you know, the finisher finishing and being exalted and wonderful. Yeah. But what's it like to catch your daughter and see, after all the work that she's done, and knowing what she's been through, and knowing how important it was? What's it like seeing her come down and then being there?
It was as if I was in the race. And I remember the first year I did it, the first time I ever did it, and it's emotional even now. Just as you round the oval, you hit the carpet, you have that racer's euphoria. It was the same thing. I'm watching her come down, and I'm like losing it, like a babbling idiot. And I'm just like, and I know the race, Marty and the finish line, there's like, okay, those two are going to catch her, and then you put the medal. I'm like, whatever. And, and then you're going into a zone and saw her, and it was, I'll never forget it, those moments, those seconds. And her crossing the line and knowing that she finished it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just proud.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What's your next race?
I don't know. I'm like, because my life was like dedicated. I woke up, I'd go to my classes. I picked 8 a.m. classes every single day so that I'd have the afternoons to work out.
To train.
And actually, I made like the dean's list. I killed my freshman year.
Isn't it weird like that? For some reason, like when it comes to athletes, if you didn't have practice or whatever, you probably get worse grades.
Yeah.
But you'd have more time.
And
right.
I actually played rugby my first semester, like the fall season. So I was doing school, going to rugby practice, and then fitting in my workouts. And there was the beginning of training, so like they weren't horribly long workouts, so I could balance everything. And then I had to stop doing rugby because then it started, and I was in bubble wrap season where like I can't get hurt.
Right? You don't do certain things around the house anymore.
Yeah.
You're not chopping wood.
Well, you don't want to get on an elevator or you go on a plane because you get,
It's true.
Yeah.
It's so true.
And so,
someone coughs, you're like, no.
Nobody touched me. So it was super awesome to be able to experience it. And I actually wrote my college essay on how Ironman has impacted my life because I was so young when I started it, and it's basically been an every year kind of thing. So it's awesome to like experience that and have that like kind of schedule. Like I woke up and I knew what I had to do that day.
Right.
And so now I'm just taking this year kind of like, I'm still going to be training, but I'm taking it as an off year where I can just like, I can go rock climbing and I can go, I live 30 minutes away from Crested Butte, which is a Vail-owned resort. Like we have a big ski culture out in Gunnison. And so I'm like taking this year where like if I get injured and like I get hit by a huge girl in rugby and I hurt my wrist or something, it's not the end of the world.
Right.
So I'm like experiencing it, and then I'll still be training. So hopefully, but I'll come home for this is probably one of the years that I'll come home for the summer, and we'll do the Patriot and half at
it's marathon. I'm not the marathon. Sorry, the triathlon.
Yep.
Half distance, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it Patriot Man? They always put man at the end of it.
Is it that what it is?
I don't know.
I don't know.
They always.
We'll do like the quasi.
Oh, you're doing the 70.3?
Yeah, probably we'll just do like Olympics.
I might do that one.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
I'm doing 70. I'm a 70.3 guy next year.
Yeah.
I need a break.
It really is. Which is absurd to be saying.
Yeah.
I'm just going to race 70 miles.
Okay.
No, it's a different animal. It's a different animal. It's like the difference between a half and a full marathon. It's just a totally.
Yeah. And that's a hard one.
Yeah.
Placid's hard.
You know what? I know it's hills. I heard that the loop is harder than Lake Placid. But,
it is.
Yeah. We did it on a training run. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
If you want to be good at hills.
Maybe I'll do something else.
Yeah, no, but it's a great challenge in that sense because you still get the same challenge of a race, but it's half the distance.
Yeah. But I also like, you finish and you have, well, for you have the day, but I finish and I don't have any, there's like, it's midnight. It's time to go to bed. It's, to do half, it's like, I can go to, enjoy the rest of the day. Yeah. It's actually nice.
I've done 2 sprints and then an Ironman.
Nothing in the middle.
So I'll take the summer and like, I'll still be training. Like I think I found.
Refine some stuff.
I found such a lifestyle in triathlon. So I think I'm just gonna I'll go to school and then I'll basically pick up Ironman training.
Yeah, you don't have to do it every single day.
No.
You just
which is the beautiful thing about taking an off year is that
you'll miss it.
If my friends want to go camping, I can't be like, oh, sorry, I can't.
Right.
Because I have to train. I have to wake up at crack of dawn.
So, do you ever think about your potential future career in this, or is professional triathlete? It's a big step, but it's it seems like it's something that if it's there potentially, if you wanted to do something like that,
I would love it. Because I'm such
of course all those college courses. If she becomes, it's like,
hey, I balanced it well
you can
this
balance
year.
it. Yeah.
My school is so athletic. It's such a outdoors.
Yeah.
Everyone values their athletic prowess.
Yep.
At my school, that I have such a big support team.
That's great.
And like all my friends are just so awesome with that, and they can go out with me like on long runs because they're training for 100-mile trail run, and I'm like, okay, like you think I'm crazy, but I think you're crazy if you're wanting to do that.
Yeah. It's the right culture. To cultivate something like that.
And I'm at altitude, which is like so awesome because like if I because for 2022 that'll be probably my graduating year.
You're gonna have to move out there.
I so am gonna. I'm not even gonna know. A little apartment.
Yeah. I'll be training at altitude. I'll be living there by then probably, and so I'll come back a week before Ironman, and I'll just be like on all that altitude training, and I'll still have it, and I'll have
the benefits of it.
We're gonna take like 2 years and just train like there's no tomorrow.
And see, that's the thing. There's a couple things is her inexperience, and you know this from experience. We talked about it week after the race. Says, what would you do different? And immediately she had
so many things.
I would do this different. I got to do those.
We got to write that stuff down because you'll forget
those long bikes, the long runs. She was not good on those, and I couldn't push her.
No.
No offense, but she's 19, and 2 months before the race, I'm not going to say, well, you screwed up everything so far. Like you haven't. You've done what you wanted to do, and you've done the training. Yeah. But you can touch now, refine
now
this,
I can look back
that.
at it and be like, oh my gosh, I was so inexperienced, and I did so many things that are horrifyingly wrong.
Right.
Well, I got to say, too, I mean, the support system here is, I mean,
crazy.
Your daughter just came in third place in her age group at 19 years old. Right. It could be very easy to be like, all right, when are we doing the next one? Come on, let's go. Get out and train. Get out and... Yeah. But you seem to have like the right, call it constructive environment.
Yeah.
Academics,
I just want to be
sports.
Like a kid and just like be able, not a kid, but like I just want to go out there and like be able to go camping and be able to like go whitewater rafting and not fear that, oh, I'm going to tweak my shoulder and I'm totally
you get a little
screwed
balance,
this year.
a little balance there.
And so I'll take that year off
and be a student.
Yeah.
And experience college life, and the positive side of it is always the negative side too. And it's in Colorado where things are legal, but
legal everywhere.
Yeah, right now it is. You're right, but it's experience life, but do it in a healthy way too.
Yes.
And again, the culture, the school, and
just
her
like
friends.
Relax and not have to like worry about like training, and then be able to take that renewed energy and put that towards dedicating myself and perfecting the new training that I'm going to do, and like the new distances.
Let me ask you this. Today is Ironman Mont Tremblant. It's going on right now as we speak.
Good luck.
It is.
Yeah.
Good for them.
See, that was my question. You just answered it. I was going to say, who are you tracking? You're not tracking anyone.
We had Christy Lucas, Tom's wife. She did it.
Yeah.
5
But
years
I feel like, I feel like if this was something that she was like gung-ho about being competitive, like she'd have the top 19-year-olds in there, and she'd be
not
like...
this year. It was really just Lake Placid, because like...
Yeah.
And I feel like, if I do end up being able to like get myself to a level where I'm like super competitive and like breaking out of my age group and like just doing crazy things and maybe become a professional, then I'll like branch out to different Ironmans. But I love Lake Placid.
Yeah.
It's such a hard course, and it's such a culture there.
It's iconic.
Because like they know how to host a big event. They did the Olympics twice.
Yeah. They do.
So they have everything down so packed, and it's such a beautiful area. And like, you could go and do an easier like Florida or like Texas. Those are pretty flat courses.
Yeah.
And like people have fast times from there, but like Lake Placid, you're getting pros that are doing times that like maybe an age grouper would do at an easier course. Like it's a hard course, and I like that aspect of it. Like it makes you prepared for any other Ironman, basically.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I'm interested to hear when your next one's going to be. Yes. Interested in following your career and seeing how you do. It's very exciting.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
I've kept you guys here so long.
No, it's been an honor to come in and talk to you. It really...
Awesome.
You started out going, what are we doing? A podcast? Blah, I don't know. I couldn't spell them. And, but to meet you,
You guys too.
You've got
It's
a
my
great
pleasure.
style.
It's my
So
pleasure.
excited. Me and my aunt listened to your first podcast, and like she was crying in the car, and I was getting emotional, and I was like, oh my god, I'm so excited now.
I can't, you know what it is? I can't hold it in when it's my daughter. I just that's why I asked you, because it's just like it's very hard.
I get emotional.
It's very
Everyone
hard.
does,
Yeah. And that race just has a way of,
It gets to your heart.
Yeah,
it really does.
and it sticks with you.
It leaves an impression.
Does. Well, obviously, here I
Yeah.
am.
There you go. But
There was something I'll get back to it later because you're going to edit, right? Mora.
Oh, all right, yeah. So we talked about.
Did I just jump to it?
Yeah, let's just we'll just kind of introduce it for a second. So Maura Donovan, I met out on River Road.
Okay.
She's I mentioned her, I think, in the podcast.
Yeah.
So when I met Maura on River Road, I was wearing an Ordinary Marathoner shirt, and she knew who I was, and she said hello, and I felt really bad. It was our first loop, and I didn't have a plan at the moment what I was doing, so I would have loved to have run with her and talked to her.
Yeah.
But I couldn't because I was running. I was walking. I was running.
Yeah,
I was basically
you're just
run when
trying
I
to get
can
through it.
and walk
Yeah.
when I have to.
Yeah.
And so I told her. I said, I'm sorry. I felt really bad that I'm usually not. I'm usually more social. And so I was cheering her on, kind of like and I looked her up the next day to see how she finished. And but you guys met her too, apparently.
So.
Go ahead.
No, you know the story better. So
Saturday?
yeah, we were tired and we didn't have the house yet. We were staying at an awesome
You're waiting to check
bed and
into your hotel
breakfast.
room.
Yeah. So we were just sitting down by the water on not the beach side, but you know how there's kind of like the little grassy area.
Yeah.
We were sitting there and he was like taking a nap, and like this triathlon group of just women came up behind us and they started like putting their wetsuit on and we started talking to them. They're so nice. And like they sat with us and like just chatted and chatted and chatted.
Yeah, because you're so close. It's a very, you don't have personal space that weekend because everyone's on top of everyone.
Yeah.
And they were talking, and then you overhear them, and then like, okay, you make up small talk, and then you start to find out there are hardcore athletes there and
like
everything.
Incredible athletes.
And this one woman was finished first, second in her group
for swim, and
in
I was
Mexico
like,
Games or
whoa.
something. I'm like, I don't remember, and I apologize. But
My favorite part about that is the $10,000 bikes mounted on $5,000 cars.
Yeah.
yes. And so they were talking. We struck up conversation, and it was just great. One of them was Maura.
Yeah.
And so we're talking to her, and she's like, "Oh," and then you're like, "Oh, we'll follow you tomorrow," because the others weren't
They'll
racing,
like
but she
exchange
was.
numbers, and like their tri group would follow. They were tracking me actually.
Yeah.
Which is so
Yeah.
cool.
So I don't, I wouldn't never remember her per se, again in the future. But then that night,
because we were by the turnaround.
By the turnaround, and I am 6-pack into me, and maybe something else drinking, vodka or gin, and we're watching everyone come through, and there was some great moments where the guys dancing, the ladies dancing, everyone's getting. You hope you're lifting their spirits with the music cranking, and you are, and they're in the home stretch. The oldest gentleman in the race came through.
80
years old.
We took a selfie.
He stops.
the
He's got
youngest,
selfies with her and him.
oldest.
It was like awesome.
And he actually asked to take the picture, so hopefully find his
I was right in
email
this
or
group,
something.
by the way. I was like,
and he's dancing also.
Yeah.
And we're just having a great time. Well, then you see a racer coming through, and she's got 2 or 3 people around her. A tall blonde woman, her coach, come to find out, and a couple other guys and a cyclist behind him. And so you're like, wait, I don't think she's first in her age group. She's not the first pro. No. So I'm like, I talked to the cyclist because he stopped, and they're going to do the turn. And I go, is she the last runner on the course? He says, no, but she's the last one with a chance to finish before midnight. I go, oh, great. I don't know who she is. And so we're cheering her, and then I'm just like, guys, I got to go into because I want to watch the finishers anyway here now at midnight.
And I was already down at the Oval.
Yeah, most of the team was already there, or Pete, us.
Yeah.
And so I ran alongside them, but I was actually on the sidewalk. I didn't want to go to get in their space. But she had her coach and a couple friends with her running.
Yeah.
And I'm crazy, man. I am just, this is awesome. I'm having my moment through her, what is it, vicariously through her. And just yelling at her and yelling at them because it was going to be close.
Yeah.
If she did a 12-minute mile, which she was on course for, she wasn't going to finish the time. So in my head, I'm coaching. because I'm all of a sudden a coach.
You were coaching. I remember you out there.
Oh, I'm screaming.
I'm telling you, I think I have video.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm screaming.
Probably.
Like, run ahead of her, not behind her, so that, you carry her, just finish her, which is probably totally illegal. But at that point, I think there's some latitude in
people
the
could
rules.
run
there
with
is.
you
Yeah.
and not
Oh, yeah.
get a penalty.
There's
You just get off the level.
I had two friends who were volunteers. They were I think you're
and there were volunteers
also,
around her. Yeah.
So I think you're okay.
You're legit.
And I think at that point, it's about getting
Some
you through,
latitude,
and as long as they're not carrying you,
Right.
pushing you,
Good point. They never touched her, you know? And so it was awesome. She was flying. Laura was flying at the end. She was doing like 9-minute miles at the end, coming into the oval. And it was just awesome to watch her. But I didn't know it was her.
You didn't reckon,
No, until the next day. We were walking down in Lake Placid buying T-shirts and buying all kinds of stuff that says whatever on it. Lake Placid Ironman.
And she walks past and
she
goes,
Dean, Laura. I'm like, oh my God. She goes, oh my God, did you finish? She has time, talk. She goes, that was the last. Oh my God, that was you. Didn't realize it's the next day and a conversation with her that was her finishing. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
That was rocking awesome. So it brought it full circle to seeing her the day before.
What a crazy week.
The race and then
the day after.
Yeah, that was awesome.
So
she's asked about her.
And she's super nice too.
Well, because she finished. She said that she finished and all of her teammates were like, Grace finished. She knew they.
Yeah. Right.
It was cool that they tracked me and stuff like that. It's such a community.
And it brings you full circle to the tri environment and the tri athletes. You have the spectrum of the ordinary marathoner, right? Who's just trying to finish this thing and maybe even struggling at the end, to the age groupers who are doing so well, to the pros and the elites and those people who have made that little 1% commitment to get up there, at the highest level of it.
It's awesome. A lot of times the person who wins will stand there the rest of the day and hand out medals to people. Yeah. And it's almost an honor, I think. Yeah. It's a great community. You don't see a lot of that like in just marathon running or anything. The winner, by the time I finished New York City Marathon, the winner, they're eating breakfast in Kenya.
And I had a moment in 2017 or 15.
I don't know.
2015, where I always hit lows on marathons. So these marathons suck. They change the distance at the end. So, we have a pro in our town, John Fesick, and doing the marathon, I was with him. Yeah. He was on his second loop, and I was on my first loop. And he just talked me through some of it, and it was pretty cool. Because I'm like, had a moment in myself where I'm like, I'm struggling to get through this loop.
And this guy's stopping to help you.
And he's walking with me for a moment because he was having a bad race. Yeah. And he's going to finish top 20 in the race. Yeah. Overall. And he's having a bad race. And he's coaching me through it. And I'm like, this is friggin' nuts. No other sport.
Right.
Are you going to be with a professional athlete who is these highest levels and they're helping this, schmuck through?
Yeah. There's a guy in Kona. I think his name was Jan Frodeno. And he won Kona.
Yeah, I know, totally.
Yeah, and then the next year
someone's home. Yeah.
And then the next year he lost it after the bike.
Yes.
And he walked the entire marathon. Yep. And it's just something to be said for a guy. He's got nothing to win.
No skin in that game anymore.
Right. No reason to don't go out and do that, but just to be a part of it. And I think they interviewed him after, and he said, you know what? He's like, my best wasn't good enough today, but I owed everybody else that was in that race, I owed them my best. Even if, and not to bail and not to jump out. I just owed the race my best, even if my best wasn't that great today. And I think that's something to be said. It's just a spirit that I don't think you find in a lot of other places.
That's the Ironman triathlon spirit. Yeah. It's not, for different people, it's about finishing first in the group or for winning but it's that, I'm going to finish this event. This is a monumental event. It's 17 hours and whatever minutes. You finished this incredible.
And everyone has just like their different reasons for being there, but like they're all equally as just.
Everyone's got a story.
Everyone does. Honestly.
That's what I said. There's probably 2,500 people that did Lake Placid. I could probably do 2,500 podcasts and they'll all be a little bit different.
Yeah,
that'd
be cool. And just as like.
I'm not going to do it though.
Good luck.
I got a little bit of a life.
That's a different version of an iron.
Right.
Iron interview.
Yeah.
Well, listen, guys, thank you so much for coming out of your way. Thanks for driving up here, being here in studio. I hope my video works out.
Yeah. You see the back of my shot.
I'm confident in the audio portion, at least. I'm pretty confident in that.
Thanks so much.
But I'm pretty sure we got it. And thanks so much for coming out. We're gonna call it a day here. Great podcast. Again, great having you guys here. We'll wrap things up, and remember, Every day is an ordinary day unless you make it extraordinary. So get after it, guys.
Remember to like our video and subscribe to our channel.